Hi guys, John here from Optics Warehouse. So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to have a little chat about what you need for the basics to get into field target, what to spend your money on, what not to spend your money on, and just to get you up and running really. So if you're coming into it, first things first, you need the air rifle itself. So you can pretty much use anything you like as long as it's under 12 foot-pound. So it'd be 2.2, 2.5 or the preferred 177. You're not having to go out and spend thousands on a top-end field target adjustable rifle. To get into it, you can have your old break barrel that's been sat in the cupboard for years or been passed down to you. You only really need the gun, a scope as well to start with, and that really does get you into the sport. Obviously you can then take it as far as you like. Best thing to spend your money on, personally, is going to be the scope. Obviously trying to determine the ranges, that's the hardest part in field target, that and the wind. The wind you have no control over, that comes and goes whenever. Actual telling the ranges, that's what you do get the say in. So the more you can spend on a scope or the better quality scope you can get, the more chance you're going to have of hitting them targets, especially the longer range ones. So most air rifles out of the box will produce a 25mm group at around about 30 yards, 40 yards. Obviously you need to be within inside a 40mm kill with wind at 55 yards. So once again, as long as you get your right pellet choice with your air rifle, that's going to come down to pretty much being available to any budget rifle you can get your hands on. Obviously, most common pellet choice with 177s is JSB, Air Arms, sort of Diablo shape. Don't bother with your pointed or flatheads. They're just not stable in the outdoor conditions or in the wind. So any Diablo pellet, get a few test batches and try them through your rifle to get the best groupings at your given ranges. So moving back to the scopes. Entry-level scopes, you're going to want at least 24 mag to start with if you're going to try doing the range finding using a side wheel or front focus. So with that, the higher mag you go, the easier it is to tell what the distance of the targets are, be it between 50 and 55 yards. Once you go up past, sort of your Falcon T50 is the best budget field target scope you can get. You can pick them up for £300 brand new, and that will get you into it and up to a very good level. If you want to take a step further, that's when you need to start spending sort of double or triple that money on a brand new scope, being a Nico Diamond, Falcon X50, Cytron, Delta Striker, all of them models there, they will break the bank. So unless you're really heavily into it, or you've got the money to throw at it, don't bother. Buy second-hand, get a good quality second-hand scope to chuck on there. Once again, you can pick up the Nikos for 500-600 quid, roughly second-hand, and that will do everything you will ever need. That will take you from your entry level right the way through to being a world champion. With regards to that, mount height. With the budget scopes, you're better off sticking the scope height a bit higher than you normally would. Having a nice gap between the scope and barrel will allow you to have a bit more margin of error on your longer range targets because it changes the curve of the trajectory. So we'll put a little picture in that later on, a sort of rough drawing of what I mean. But what that allows you to do, we're changing the curve, that comes later on. So you're not getting a sharp drop between your 40 to 55 yards. It's more of a flattened curve because of the scope height cancelling that out. So moving on from that, you've got your air rifle sorted, you've got the higher mounts, you've got your scope. What you then need is ideally a stock with a deep forend and adjustable cheek piece. Obviously this comes to getting the stock to fit you correctly. It's not necessary, but it does help a lot. Now this can be done, once again, if you've got a cheaper rifle or it's a second hand, it's a bit bashed about, you can add bits to the stock. You can screw a hamster into the front of it so that drops the forend down. You can add foam to the cheek piece. So it's another cheaper way and quick way of getting that to fit you correctly without too much expenditure or too much hassle. Adjustable butt pad, once again, that's a must, but you can do that yourself with a spacer and just put the butt pad on that and you can move it up and down, work out where you need it and trim everything after. As to use with field target and trying to get the best out of your kit, it's just practice. The more you practice, the better you will get. So that's practicing your positionals, which is your kneeling and standing. They are very important to practice because that's the most you wobble you're going to have when shooting. However, most targets are off the bag or in seated position. So if you can practice that and you practice your follow through, holding the rifle exactly where it needs to be until you see that target drop or you see that pellet impact, and just improving on that. So if, say, you miss high and left and you're shooting with what you can see as no wind and you've got markers down there to tell, why have you missed high and left? Have you snatched the trigger? Have you gripped the stock? Have you pulled it that way? What you can do then is you can dissect that indoors. So you sit down, you pick a point on the wall, look down the scope, sit with the gun, don't load it, don't fire it, just as it's sat there and just pull the trigger. And just see whether you're gripping it or moving it the same as you would when you're shooting. That will also help you improve greatly because you're learning to follow through and hold the rifle steady for all conditions. So that pretty much sums up a quick access into field target and what you're going to be looking to do. Obviously, if you do want any more in depth or any more detail in any parts of this, just give us a message, drop us an email, and we'll see what we can do, and we'll answer your questions individually. Or if we get enough of the same question coming through, we'll try and do a more in-depth video later on when we can actually get down to the range. Thanks for watching.